We got breaking news out of the NFL, and down in Miami, the Dolphins are signing wide receiver Jaylen Waddle to a 3-year extension worth over $84 million. That's according to our lead NFL insider, Jonathan Jones, confirming that news. The new deal guarantees Waddle $76 million. He's entering the 4th year down in Miami. He's the first in franchise history when you're talking about 3 straight 1,000-yard receiving seasons. But when it comes to stacking up and the money, top 5, he is number 4. A.J. Brown, of course, getting paid this offseason. Amon-Ra St. Brown as well. And his buddy Tyreek Hill checking at $30 million, and Waddle just behind him when it comes to that AAV at 28.3. Our Jonathan Jones here, joining us here in HQ with this news. And your reaction, JJ, not the deal we thought we would see from Miami, but Waddle getting paid.
Yeah, we'll certainly get into all of Miami in just a little bit, but Jaylen Waddle certainly deserving of this contract now with the Miami Dolphins. Like, the wide receiver market is where it is. That's what you're going to pay for a guy who is 25 years old, who is turning out 1,000-yard receiving seasons, while he is still not the #1 option on his team, right? There is Tyreek Hill out there, yet he is still able to go out there and produce the way that he has been able to. So a very well-earned, well-deserved contract. This is really a true 3-year, basically $85 million deal. It's going to be tacked on to the end of his rookie deal. He also had the 5th-year option that the team picked up a couple of weeks ago. They also picked up Jalen Phillips' 5th-year option as well. All the Jalen's down in Miami. And so he's now under contract with the Dolphins through the 2028 season. So a nice chunk of change right now. Go ahead and get him paid. Somewhat similar to what we saw with Devontae Smith and the Philadelphia Eagles a month or 2 ago. This team being smart with their finances, going ahead and locking in a guy, seeing what the wide receiver market is ultimately doing, where it will go, and saying, like, let's go ahead. We want you here for the long term. Let's go ahead and make sure that we lock you in now versus when it's going to be much more expensive later on.
Looking at the Dolphins, you mentioned there them locking up some of their weapons. And I want to look at, of course, Tyreek Hill. There's a speculation that, he's getting up in age. He still owed some money from that contract he signed when he came over. But also, Tua Tagovailoa is looking for a new deal. How does that impact those two particularly for Miami?
So, Brandon, I think it was 2 weeks ago when I reported that Tua had missed some OTAs, voluntary work. And then when the media showed up, he was there one day and then he wasn't because of an excused absence and all of those things. It certainly is related to the contract. And I'm not saying that he is not ultimately going to get paid for Miami. Ultimately, I do believe that Tua will be paid by the Miami Dolphins. However, it is a unique situation because generally speaking, not all the time, but generally speaking, teams, when the quarterback is up, it's hard to pay other guys because of what that could say to the locker room. And the Dolphins, obviously, with Jaylen Waddle deciding to pay him, they also have Javon Holland that they're going to have to figure out, the safety there. And so that they did it before Tua. The Dolphins, if they didn't intend to send a message, if they don't want to send a message, this can still send a message to Tua, to his representation, that, hey, we're still going to do business. They're up against the salary cap, and they are still out here handing out contracts in the top 5 of the wide receiver position. So that's something you need to look at. The other thing, Tyreek Hill, I think we have said for a while now, it is hard to imagine a Miami Dolphins roster that has both Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle on it in 2025. This more or less confirms that Jaylen Waddle will be there in 2025 unless some sort of trade materializes in another 12 to 16 months. The big question is going to be Tyreek Hill. You mentioned sort of getting up there in age. You also note his contract that averages $30 million in average annual salary. Well, really, that last year of the contract is wildly inflated to get it to that point. If you look at the contract from when he signed, you never really thought he was going to get to that last year anyway. So the Dolphins are going to have a decision to make after this season. Of course, that's a problem that you can worry about later. They are certainly worried about 2024 right now. So next up is certainly Tua Tagovailoa. They still have to continue hammering out that deal, something that I've talked about before. if they want to get a deal done, it would be my informed guess, speculation, talking with folks around the league, that to get the deal done, it would have to be $1 more than Justin Herbert's deal that he signed last summer. So around that $52 million in average annual value mark, that could get the deal done. But again, signing Jaylen Waddle right now, while the quarterback is still hanging out there, coming off of the best season he's had, a healthy season, a Pro Bowl season, it is a message that the Dolphins, whether they mean to send it, whether they want to send it, whether it even is the message that folks will take, it is a message in NFL locker rooms.
Well, this new contract with Waddle definitely sends a message to other receivers out there. I want to take a look at that top 5 again, because there are other pass catchers that are looking to get paid. Just a few names that we've talked about this whole offseason: JJ, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase. Now seeing that Jaylen Waddle comes in at 4, where do they kind of fall if you're talking about other guys trying to get paid here?
So this deal, of the guys who are up, probably impacts a T. Higgins or a Brandon Ayuk more than the other guys. Like CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, we're going to be talking about them at the very top. We're going to be talking about them, you know, above A.J. Brown. We're going to be talking about newest, highest paid receivers in NFL history if and when those deals ultimately get done. And so for the Brandon Ayuks and the T. Higgins, you know, Higgins, of course, is on the franchise tag. The number continues to go up for the Cincinnati Bengals if they ultimately want to get a contract extension done with him, and they have until mid-July in order to get that done. Otherwise, he's going to be playing on the franchise tag, I think just south of $22 million in 2024. One also to look out for, again, Brandon Ayuk, a guy who clearly wants a new deal, is deserving of a new deal. But is he going to get it in San Francisco has been the question. Will they ultimately have to trade him? You know, they don't seem like they want to trade him. Certainly the draft came and went, and they didn't get any sort of trade done with him. So now they hang on to him. Is he going to get Amon-Ra St. Brown money? I don't think so. I don't think he's going to reach that $30 million mark. And look, when you consider this, Brandon Ayuk, I think, knows this, but he's not the number 1 option for the San Francisco 49ers, right? And I don't know where you would rank him, but certainly Christian McCaffrey would be up there, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel. And so at best, he's the second. At best, he's the 3rd option for them. So he's not going to be paid like a number 1 option in San Francisco, even if he'd be a number 1 option at 24 to 26 other NFL teams. And I think that's why he's very interested in getting a trade, so that he can be paid like that elsewhere. So I don't know that this deal necessarily really impacts the top tier guys. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, those all pro players, they're going to be paid upwards of $30 million. But this deal, in average annual value, but this deal impacts if T. Higgins can get a deal, if Brandon Ayuk can get a deal. This is what this deal ultimately impacts.
JJ, it sounds like a lot of money moves above our pay grade that we do not have to deal with this all season. The closer we get to training camp, exactly as always. Appreciate your time. Join us on that breaking news with Jaylen Waddle getting paid. And this is what you need to do if you want to get paid. Of course, coming into league in 2021, those rankings, that rookie season, top 15, top 20 when it comes to receiving touchdowns. But of course, guaranteed $74 million. But guess what? That gets you top 4 money when it comes to Waddle, and a lot of waddling for J-Dub down here in Miami in the future.